Sometime in the 12th century, in an English village called Woolpit, the harvesters looked up from the field and saw two children standing at the edge of the pits, a boy and a girl. They were crying, lost and frightened. They wore strange clothes, and they spoke a language no one in the village had ever heard. But that was not the part that stopped the harvesters cold. The part that stopped them cold was the color of the children's skin. It was green. Not pale, not sickly, green. And almost 900 years later, no one can fully explain what these children were or where they came from. This story is not a folk tale that someone made up centuries later. It was written down as fact by two separate medieval historians, Ralph of Coggeshall and William of Newburgh, both writing within living memory of the event. They are careful, serious chroniclers, and both of them record the same impossible thing. The village was called Woolpit because of the deep pits dug at its edge to trap wolves. It was during the harvest that the workers found them, two green-skinned children, confused and weeping, near those pits. The villagers brought them in. The children were terrified, and they would not eat. Bread, meat, whatever was offered, they refused it, until they began to weaken with hunger. And then someone brought in freshly cut bean plants. The children tore them open, looking for food inside the stalks. And when they found the raw, broad beans, they ate. For months, the chroniclers say, those beans were the only thing the two children would touch. The children were taken into the household of a local knight, Sir Richard de Calne. But the boy did not adapt. He was the weaker of the two. He grew sick, wasted away, and died not long after he was baptized. The girl was stronger. Slowly she began to accept other food, and as she did, something strange happened. The green color faded from her skin. Bit by bit, she turned the same color as everyone else in the village. She was baptized, she learned to speak English, and she lived on. And once she could speak, people asked her the obvious question, "Where do you come from?" Her answer only deepened the mystery. She said she and the boy came from a land where the sun never truly rose, a place of endless grey twilight, where everything and everyone was green like them. She called it St. Martin's Land. The people there, she said, were Christian. They could see a bright, shining country across a river. One day, she and her brother were following their cattle, and they heard a great sound, like the ringing of bells. They followed it into the darkness of a cavern, and when they came out the other side, they were here, in Woolpit, blinded and overwhelmed by the brightness of our sun. So what actually happened? The most popular rational explanation points to the Flemish. In this part of 12th century England, there were Flemish immigrants, weavers and settlers, and they were resented, persecuted, and in 1173, many were killed in a battle near Bury St. Edmunds. The theory goes that these two were orphans of that violence. There is a village nearby once called Fornham St. Martin, which could be the St. Martin's Land the girl described. The strange language no one understood would simply have been Flemish. And the green skin? That points to a real medical condition. Severe malnutrition and iron deficiency can cause a form of anemia, once literally called the green sickness, chlorosis, which can give the skin a pale, greenish cast. Starving children surviving on a thin diet of beans could plausibly have looked exactly as described. And as the girl ate properly and recovered, the green would fade, exactly as the chronicles say it did. It is a tidy explanation, but it is not airtight. The chroniclers describe the children emerging from underground, dazzled by sunlight from a twilight world. Details that no theory about lost Flemish orphans really accounts for. And of course, over the centuries, less grounded ideas have grown up around the story. That the children came from a world beneath our own, or somewhere stranger still. There is no evidence for any of that, but there is no surviving evidence that fully closes the case either. Here is what we can actually say. Two medieval historians working separately recorded that two green children walked out of nowhere into an English village, ate nothing but beans, spoke a lost language, and slowly turned the colour of everyone around them. The girl, we are told, grew up, lived in Norfolk, and faded into ordinary history. The boy lies in a grave somewhere in Suffolk that no one can find. The most likely answer is the saddest one. Two starving, orphaned children, green with hunger, lost in a country that did not understand a word they said. But almost 900 years later, we still cannot say for certain. If you like forgotten history that sounds invented but isn't, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.